When I'm trading well, I'm aware of everything I own because I can explain to an 8-year-old why I own it. I know that it's something I came up with, or I've been reading from multiple sources and kind of put my own spin on it, and it's part of what I do. When I'm trading well, I get out of stuff before it even goes to my stop because it just doesn't feel right. So I might even take a small profit or a small loss. Doesn't matter if it's too soon. I react because it doesn't feel right. When I'm trading well, and something goes up close to my target, but it's acting weird, I just get out of the entire position instead of risking the whole thing back to make a little bit more. Another thing I notice when I'm trading well is if anything comes 50% back at any time, I just get out of the position and preserve whatever I have. I'm not listening to other people when I'm trading well. I'm taking in their opinions and noting them and drawing conclusions, but I'm never doing anything that's not something I want to do on my own. And it goes back to the simplicity principle of being able to explain it to anybody very easily. And if you can't do that, you probably shouldn't be doing what you're doing. When I'm struggling, I'm doing the opposite of that. Some of the things I said, you can just think the opposite. I'm also kind of piling in and hoping for the best at times, thinking it when things show little failed highs or little reasons that they might not work out. I'm apt to just sit there and stare at things and hope that it goes well and not really be worried about my risk. Risk is not in the forefront of my mind. Instead, the things on my mind are making money and being right and stuff like that. I'm often jumping into the same trade 2, 3, 4 times in a row. After it goes against me, it gets me out, it runs back up, I buy it, it goes down, I get out, it runs up, I buy it, and I'm doing shit like that versus having a good plan and maybe getting a little bit smaller and adding to it. And if it comes back down, I can kind of wait and see because I'm not too big. And that same exact trade could be tried 4 times and I could lose all 4 times, or I could trade a little smaller, add to it. And when it comes back down, I haven't gotten in too big at a bad spot. I'm able to sit through the whole mess and make money on the trade, maybe even add to the trade if it goes up. So there's a big difference in how you manage them. When I'm trading well, I also usually have some kind of a catalyst for what I'm doing. Or I have something like, I have this idea, I really like everything that's setting up. And now that it's coming up towards the highs, I notice that there's a whole bunch of things that tell me it should be going down, but it's not going down. And that's the time I like to add more to my trade and press it through the top because I feel like it's just blowing off all the bad news. That's a great signal that I know I'm on the right path. When I'm not trading well often comes right after I am trading well, which means that I'm jacked up from the volatility. Talked about this the other day. And I'm trading way bigger because I had a big score recently and I basically don't have a plan and I'm working off of somebody else's opinions. I'm working off something that isn't well thought out ahead of time. It wasn't what got me to where I am. It certainly wasn't what put me in that spot to trade bigger, and I get killed. So when I'm trading well, I also think about my momentum. There's really nothing more precious than my momentum. So why sacrifice my momentum for a little bit more profit? It's not worth it. When I'm operating from a good spot, I'm cutting my size down on trades just because I know I'm vulnerable. I'm taking time off because I know I'm vulnerable, especially when I don't see stuff. There's a difference between really trading when you're on a roll in a good market and catching a period of volatility and then over forcing it when it slows down. So you have to distinguish a difference between those two things. I'm not saying you should pull back when you're doing well, but there's an art form there. You got to find your shot, and when you're flowing, but then at some point it stops, and you have to really realize that momentum matters more than the next little bit. So that came to my mind now because I had a good streak going, and now the last 2 weeks have not gone as well for me, even though there's been a lot of opportunity that I could have done very well and maybe would have done very well in the past had I been in the right mindset. But I slipped up on a bunch of stuff because I had that mindset of being jacked up and being ready to go and all those things from some success. And I got kicked in the teeth. And it's super irritating. I feel like, how can I call myself a professional when I'm still doing this shit? But it happens, and I have to kind of process it and go through it. And now I'm resetting and refocusing. So that's where I'm sitting today, and probably a good place to be.